we come to what me and many other people call the watchable prequel. Now, I have a bit more complicated opinion with this movie than the other two. As I have said before, I used to really like the prequels, as they are the movies that I grew up with, and for the most part, not including the Clone Wars, what got me into Star Wars originally. However, I have said before that with this, I really don't like episodes 1 and 2, but with episode 3, although it still has a lot of issues with the previous two like the wooden dialogue and the stilted love acting, this is the one prequel that actually looks and feels like what Star Wars should have been from the first episode, and the one that I can actually sit through and enjoy despite its flaws. I think this is mainly because, although it has problems that the others have as well, it fixes a lot of the criticisms from the previous two as well. The CG is much better, there isn't as much politics, and it isn't shoved in your face. The story is easy to follow, the VFX are actually convincing, and the storyline is actually interesting this time. Now, does this make up for everything? No. Again, as I've said before, by definition, it is a pretty bad movie. But this one is the one that I can actually sit down and watch. So, what's the story? After 3 years of the Clone Wars across the galaxy, Anakin and Obi-Wan return to Coruscant to find out that Chancellor Palpatine has been kidnapped by General Grievous and Count Dooku. In their attempt to free him, Anakin kills Count Dooku and General Grievous is allowed to escape. Anakin then meets up with Padme and discovers that she is pregnant. This is already an issue and become an even bigger problem when he has nightmares of her dying in childbirth. But he has become closer friends with Palpatine, who tells him of a story about being able to save people from death. Anakin's obviously interested in this and is eager to learn more. Elsewhere, Obi-Wan goes off to fight against General Grievous in hopes of killing him. Anakin then discovers that Palpatine is actually a Sith Lord, but can't bear the thought of him being killed and losing Padme because of it. This results in Anakin betraying the Jedi and leading the clones to purge and kill them all. One thing leads to another, and after a fight with Obi-Wan, he ends up getting injured and becoming the mechanical Darth Vader that we've known from the other movies. Now, this movie is the first of the prequels that focuses on what it should have been from the start, that being Anakin's fall to the dark side. Although episode did have some elements in this, and you do sort of start to see it, there are so many details in that storyline that you just can't follow it properly. But here, we can actually see why Anakin is angry, and you can see his motivations for doing what he did. Even though he is still a whiny, dull, monotone character, I can still watch him and get some enjoyment out of his performance. But, to his credit, nobody gives a good performance in this movie, aside from Ewan McGregor and Ian McDiarmid, because they all sound exactly the same. But this movie is the one that plays out very similar to how it was told in A New Hope. Anakin and Obi-Wan, both Jedi Knights who fought in the Clone Wars. Anakin was the best star pilot in the galaxy and a cunning warrior and a good friend to Obi-Wan, and you can see this is the case. Although it's still not very clear because of how bad these lines are being delivered, but you can still get some idea of what Obi-Wan meant in A New Hope. Although I said before about how better the CG it was, and it is, but it's still way too overused, and halfway through the movie you can see what's CG and what's not, and it ruins it. At the start of the movie, it looks genuinely convincing with the space battles, the Venators and the Providence, and all the ships just fight up against each other. And then you get back down to Coruscant, and you can see that they're walking through green and blue hallways, and what they're seeing isn't actually there. However, there are some good parts in this movie, and some of them I think are some of the best in all of the Star Wars movies, like the Opera House scene where Palpatine is explaining to Anakin about Darth Plagueis, they explain his ability to save others from death and expanding on the mythos. That scene is one of the best scenes in any of the Star Wars movies. On top of that, this movie is the most visual. You can watch this without any volume or just with the music playing and still get a clear understanding of what's going on. It feels like you're part of the Star Wars universe, and you feel like this is where the change between the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy takes place. And the costumes as well look amazing. Anakin legitimately looks like Darth Vader before his suit. As much as I complain about how dull he reads his lines, anywhere where he doesn't have to read any dumb dialogue and just has to act with his facial expression, he looks amazing. Like the scene where Anakin and Padme are separated, and Anakin's in the Jedi Temple and Padme's in like an apartment block across Coruscant. That scene is so much more powerful than any line written in this movie or any of the prequels. But again, there are so many other dumb scenes, like when Anakin does turn to the dark side. As many people have said before, including me, it's way too quick. For Anakin to right away say that he wants to learn the dark side and kill all the Jedi and all the Separatist leaders to completely switch sides is completely out of nowhere, and it seems rushed. In my opinion, have Anakin go and kill the Jedi in the temple and have Order 66 enacted across the galaxy, but leave the Separatist leaders for other media, as having them die doesn't add anything to the story. Hell, you don't even need them at all. You don't even need to show them dying. The only reason why that's added is because Anakin needs to be on Mustafar for him to be burnt up and give him a reason to be Darth Vader. That's the only reason why the Separatist leaders are there, is to build up that plot thread. There's no reason for the Separatist leaders to be killed at all. You can leave that for other media. So what I think you should have happened originally is show us more of what happened in the temple during the Purge, showing us how ruthless Anakin would have been against the Jedi that he once called his friends. How much better would that have been? You can have Anakin retreat to the planet like Mustafar because of his guilt, but not have the leaders there, and then have the fight between Anakin and Obi-Wan take place there just afterwards. As I said before, I make fun of the stuff that you make fun of too. Do I point out the things that don't make sense? Yeah. But this is the one prequel that I don't mind giving it a watch every now and again. I can still get some enjoyment out of it despite it being a dumb movie. And for a long time though, this is all we thought would be the end of Star Wars in cinemas, until in 2015, A New Hope was brought back to the cinemas.